Hello everyone, in this video we're going to draw a hyena. Start by drawing a circle as a guide for the head. An easy way to draw a circle is to first make a couple of small marks to indicate the circle's height, and then on the sides make a couple more small marks to indicate the circle's width. Then just connect the small marks using curved lines to finish the shape of the circle. You don't have to draw a perfect circle, but if you're having trouble drawing one, just trace the outer edge of a coin, a bottle cap, or anything else with a circular edge. To the right, draw a bigger circle as a guide for the front part of the body. Make this circle around 3 times the size of the head. Don't overlap the head as you draw this shape. Sketch lightly at first so that it's easy to erase if you make a mistake. Also, pause the video as you follow along to draw at your own pace. On the bottom right side, draw a circular shape as a guide for the back portion of the body. Most of this circle will be hidden behind the front part of the body, so only draw a small section of it. Inside the head, draw a curved horizontal line for a construction guide. Place the line slightly lower than the center of the circle. Above that, draw a curved vertical line for another construction guide. On the bottom half of the head, draw a small circle as a guide for the muzzle. Draw the bottom part of the muzzle outside of the head circle. On top of the head, draw 2 big curved shapes as guides for the ears. The shapes should be similar to big arcs. The ears should be big in relation to the head. Under the front part of the body, draw a long vertical line as a guide for the front leg. Bend the line slightly near the middle to indicate the joints. At the bottom, draw a short horizontal line for the foot. To the left, draw a long angled line as a guide for the other front leg. Bend this line slightly more because the leg will be stepping forward. Under the back portion of the body, draw a long sloping line as a guide for the hind leg. The bottom of this line should be close to the front leg. Draw a shorter line at the top for the visible portion of the other hind leg. On top of the body, draw a short line as a guide for the tail. And that's it for the guidelines. Now let's start on the final drawing. Inside the head, lightly sketch 2 small circles for the eyes. Place the eyes on top of the horizontal construction guide and on either side of the vertical guide. When you get the sizes and positions of the eyes right, darken the shapes. As you darken the shapes, make the sides pointier for the corners of the eyes. Make the eye on the right a bit smaller because the head is slightly turned. Make the edges of the eyes thick and dark. Draw a couple of curved lines below the eyes for creases on the skin. Inside the eyes, draw tiny circles for highlights. In the middle of the eyes, draw short vertical lines for the slit pupils. Now lightly sketch a small square-like shape inside the muzzle for the nose. Draw the bottom of the nose along the bottom edge of the head circle. When you get the size and position of the nose right, darken the shape. Near the middle of the shape, draw a couple of small circles and shade them in for the nostrils. draw a couple of short curved lines along the outer edges of the nostrils. Darken the bottom part of the nose using curved lines and add a short line between the nostrils. Darken the top part of the nose too. Below the nose, draw a horizontal line for the mouth. Curve the outer tips of the line up to create the sides of the muzzle. Draw the shape of the muzzle along the path of the initial circle. Sketch lightly at first and only darken the lines when you get the shapes right. Under the mouth, draw a curved line for the chin. Extend the line for the chin farther to the left to create the lower jaw. Darken the big shape on the top left side of the head for the first ear. As you darken the shape, make the top pointier. Inside the shape, draw a few short strokes for the base of the ear and a curved line for the side of the ear. Use the shape on the right to draw the other ear the same way. Darken the shape and add a few short strokes inside for the furry base of the ear. Follow the basic path of the first circle to draw the shape of the head. Make the lines a bit more angular to create the jaws. Draw a couple of short lines next to the ears for the top of the neck. If you've made it this far, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Now use the second line from the left that's under the body as a guide to draw the front leg. First, lightly sketch the shape of the leg around the guideline. Where the guideline bends, curve the shape to create the joints on the leg. Make the top part of the leg a bit wider than the bottom. Draw a small square-like shape at the bottom for the foot. When you get the shape of the leg right, darken the lines. Draw a few short strokes at the top to create a furry texture. Keep the edges of the shape close to the guideline so that the leg is thin. At the very bottom, draw a few short vertical lines to separate the toes. Draw a few curved lines higher up for the tops of the toes. Use the guide on the left as a guide to draw the other front leg the same way. First, lightly sketch the shape of the front leg around the guideline. Bend the shape a couple of times near the middle to create the joints on the leg. Draw the bottom of the foot slightly higher because the leg is stepping forward. When you get the shape of the leg right, darken the lines. Make the top of the leg wide and then gradually make it thinner toward the bottom. Draw curved shapes where the leg bends to create the joints. At the very bottom, draw a couple of short vertical lines to separate the toes. Now use the long sloping line on the right side as a guide to draw the hind leg the same way. Sketch lightly at first and only darken the lines when you get the shapes right. Add a small curved shape near the middle to indicate the joint. Draw a few curved lines at the very bottom to separate the toes. Add a few more curved lines for the visible section of the other hind leg. Most of this leg will be hidden behind the first hind leg, so only draw the visible sections. Use the remaining shapes as guides to draw the rest of the body. Draw a sloping line above the head for the top part of the neck. Draw the top part of the body slightly higher than the initial circle. Draw the shape of the body along the outer edges of the guides. Draw a series of short strokes along the bottom to create the shaggy fur on the underside of the body. Draw a few short lines to the right of the head to create the bottom of the neck. Draw a few more short lines within the shape to give the body structure. Draw the shape of the tail around the guideline on the top right side. Use short strokes to create a furry texture. Now erase the initial guidelines. The next few steps are sped up so that the video isn't too long. You don't have to erase all of the guidelines. It's okay if you leave some behind. Redraw any of the final lines that you may have accidentally erased. Now shade your drawing. Use the dark value to create shadows across the body. Shadows will give the figure more dimension and volume. Shade lightly at first and gradually build up to darker values. For light values, push down very lightly on your pencil, then push down harder to create darker values. Shade the nose using a dark value, but leave a thin strip blank at the top to create a highlight. Shade the muzzle using a darker value. As you shade, use strokes that go in the direction of the fur. The fur on the head radiates outward from the nose. Use a medium value to shade the rest of the body. Continue adding more value across the body. Darken the final lines to emphasize the shapes. Add the spotted pattern on the coat using a darker value. Don't draw the spots as perfect circles, draw them as small irregular shapes. Add a few short strokes on the muzzle to create the whiskers. Draw a series of short strokes along the bottom to create a grassy texture. Shading can be time-consuming, so be patient and take breaks. Keep shading until you're happy with the result, and that's it for the hyena. Remember to pause the video to draw at your own pace. Also, please visit howtodrawanimals.com for more tutorials. That's how, and then the number 2, then drawanimals.com. If you'd like to support my channel, please consider buying my books on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description below. Let me know in the comments what other animals you want to see me draw. Don't forget to leave a like and to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep drawing.